In Washington, a House committee gives a blowout of Steve Mnuchin. And in San Francisco, a salon gives a blowout of Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi apparently got wavy hair. That way she can wave us goodbye as she retires from the House. Just like her bailouts of her states, Nancy's hair needed to dye. Pelosi apparently added some red highlights to her hairstyle. Ironic she wouldn't do that with her second stimulus package. And she cut off 3 inches of her hair at the bottom. She did that by cutting out hazard pay. Finally, good news today. Nancy Pelosi will no longer be backing bailouts of states in her second stimulus package. That is, unless they're open hair salons after 4 p.m. on weekdays. Hey, good afternoon or good evenings, everybody. This is LALATE, where everyone's hairstyle looks really crappy. We don't have stimulus checks, but children are still going hungry. This is, a crazy wacko day in wacko Nancy news that you never would have thought would have happened. Evenings LALATE starts every night at 6:45, unless, we're getting our hair done. And then continues with a special report. Again, I'm bringing it back. There's so much to discuss. I will be dealing with the nuances of this House and Senate maneuvering and what you should expect next week, because I know it's a lot of confusion, so I want to touch over all those details. But I'll also be going over EIDL in that video as well. This video will capture all the incredible great news that happened today, that started with Meadows before dawn, then went to Mnuchin. Then, stopped at the hair salon to do some early highlights. And then, just like the highlights, I will be touching on the comments by Maxine Waters and interesting developments about FPUC and MPUA. A lot of great, incredible news. Let's get right to it. First, the day started with Mark Meadows confirming this channel's reporting for almost 2 weeks, and especially my reporting on evenings at LALATE. If you watched my 2 or 3 specials in the last few days, I detailed and told you first that next week a Senate bill will be introduced by the Republicans to get the second stimulus deal done. I detailed for you how it's going to be done, how much money, when you would see the money, all those incredible details. While the Temple of Doom is no longer an issue, whether or not they have good hairstyles or not, but that was all confirmed pre-dawn. Let me get right to the details. A second stimulus check, a second stimulus package, an eviction moratorium, an extension of FPUC benefits, money for schools, vaccines, and potentially a bailout for airlines will be detailed in what's called a new stimulus package to be introduced to the Senate floor next week when the Senate reconvenes, written by Mitch McConnell. This was first reported on LALATE over the last few days and shockingly detailed and confirmed this morning by Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff to the President, on Morning News. This is not the skinny bill. It is not the HEALS Act. It is totally a brand new bill written by Mitch McConnell. It will be introduced next week because that's when the Senate reconvenes. People are asking me, why is it not done this week? Well, that's when the Senate will reconvene. To make very clear, it is not the skinny bill. That what Mitch has done is he has tailored it specifically as basically a combination of a few standalone bills put together. The price tag is $500 billion. What's interesting about this, and what is also slightly confusing, is that this will be the second stimulus package, and there will likely, according to Meadows, there will be a third stimulus package just immediately right after that. That will likely, potentially, and hopefully have hazard pay into it. So let's go over the first details of what's happening in that package next week. That package will have stimulus checks, $1,200 stimulus checks if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or railroad benefits. You qualify. $1,200 checks for single individuals, $2,400 checks for married couples. The number of people in the household you have to sort of pause and wonder how many they're going to do. We really don't know. The Trump administration had often talked about 4 people in the household. The Democrats want 5 people in the household. It's not quite clear. The next thing that's not quite clear is the amount for the dependents. The Republicans previously have used $500. The Democrats want $1,200. What's important to understand is that this bill is not just a Republican bill. Mark Meadows described, and this is incredible great news, he described that he has been talking around the clock with Democrats in the Senate to get this done, with Democrats in the House to get this done. So this is not Mitch McConnell in a vacuum with a bag of fries and a plate of extra crispy fried chicken getting this done. No, it's a result of weeks of negotiations with people that don't patronize the Temple of Doom. So there is the potential that it will be $1,200 for dependents, and that'll be a family of 5, $6,000 check. As to child support, the Democrats don't want to take out for child support. It's likely that would follow that as well. That does not prevent you from getting child support on a local level out of the stimulus check. All right, FPUC benefits. It will be re-extended, a new round of FPUC, what's also called Enhanced Unemployment Benefits 2.0 is what I would call it, FPUC 2.0, to make it clear. It would be retroactive to the last date that FPUC 1.0 expired. Here are all the things that you need to understand. First, the amount. It'll likely be $400. I have been reporting over the last week or two that the Democrats wanted $500, $600. The Republicans wanted $300, $400. I think it's likely to be $400. Next, if you received LWA, your benefits will be deducted. Your previous payments under LWA will be deducted from your state, and you will get the remainder. Someone asked me on Twitter a few hours ago, will you have to repay LWA? No. You don't have to repay anything. It would be deducted. So, for example, if it's $400 under FPUC 2.0 and you got $300 for FPUC for LWA, you'll get $100. Next, it will be retroactive back to the date at which FPUC 1.0 expired, which is late July. Third, if you receive the $100 from your state, which currently is now 3 states and 2 more pending, that is likely not to be deducted because that's a state add-on. That's not a federal add-on. Remember, LWA funded by FEMA is a federal program. The $100 add-on is a state edition by nature of the states. Those states that tonight are doing $100 bail add-ons is incredibly great news. Let me jump out of order and tell you that right now. It is now Kentucky, Montana, West Virginia, Kansas, and Vermont are the 5 states that are or about to pay the $100 per week of LWA. It is irrelevant how many weeks of LWA you're getting. States are now at 5 weeks of LWA, which is absolutely incredible news. The point is that it's going to be deducted from FPUC 2.0. Last, that $100 threshold under LWA, the executive order of President Trump that created LWA, not to be used in FPUC 2.0. I just don't see that happening. All right, so incredible news across the board. Funding for schools, funding for testing, maybe something for the airlines, not very clear. And finally, eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance will be part of this bill. It will not include rent aid. That is part of the next round. Okay, so what's the next round? The next round is everything remaining. What Mnuchin and Meadows want to do, and also the Republicans and Democrats, is they want to get this relief out now. Maxine Waters was on Zoom today during the congressional hearing of Steve Mnuchin, and she said, get it done. What's going on? I'm trying to keep the tone down because I don't want to break your eardrums, but she was basically shouting through the TV or the Zoom. She was enraged. She's not alone. It was really a call to action by House Democrats that this has been a shambles. Republicans are on book as well. The core of the issue is the following, that at some point, Nancy Pelosi decided to say, don't come to me unless Everyone is now irate by that position, and it has really caused her to be tarred and feathered from more Democrats than actually Republicans. They don't understand what went on. So what's going on now with Republicans, despite the backlash that happened with Mnuchin today in the committee, is that Meadows and Mnuchin are going to push this through, this $500 bill, next week. Meadows is claiming it's going to get approved in 1 week. And then they're going to turn to the next stimulus round 3, that would potentially, I do not know, so don't say I told you it would. I don't know, potentially would have hazard pay in it, but would certainly have the bailout of states. The bailout of states is being extracted from this from the second stimulus package, because it's been a big issue. $915 billion is allocated by the HEROES Act for state bailouts. Boy, the reporting I did yesterday, where I said Moody's Analytics said, hey, that's just an incorrect number, came spot on this morning when Mark Meadows said that the Temple of Doom has held up your checks because of a $915 billion bailout of states, when the numbers actually show that they only need $300 billion for what their problem is currently. What the problem currently is what's called a budget shortfall. They're not making budget because they don't have businesses open that are paying taxes. So that budget shortfall is about $150 billion. He's willing to throw another $150 billion on it, and that's going to get in the fourth stimulus package after your stuff is done. As I said, get behind me. States are irate. My response is stop complaining. Tough nana. Tough luck. What happened was states like New York that were fiscally mismanaged for years, were not making budget before COVID-19, had borrowed against their state, and now cannot declare bankruptcy because it's unconstitutional. States cannot declare bankruptcy. So they've turned to the Temple of Doom to not give them a bridge funding of grant money just for a few months of COVID-19, but rather to give them grant money for 3 years, is what Moody's Analytics says. $900 billion represents free money for 3 years to refund these states. A deplorable scandal that has now been exposed. All right, so next, what would happen to your money? Let me go over the details. So second stimulus check would, once approved, 10 days after that, if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, it would land in your bank account 10 days after the bill becomes law. If you're signed up for electronic deposits for your SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, really great news. If you're signing up for paper checks, it would come a little bit later. If you're new to this channel and have not done a non-filer filing, boy, these are for my viewers who say, I'll wait till I see it in my account. You may never see it in your account if you've not followed my clear instructions of what you have to do for non-filing filing. It could be the difference of you getting a check or not getting a check. I'll give you the details right now again if you missed them. First, if you have a child and you're on benefits, if you're on SSDI or SSI and you have a child, the IRS does not know where that child is if you don't file tax returns. They just don't know it. So you have to do a non-filer filing right away to ensure that that child gets his or her benefit, her stimulus check. Next, if you are on benefits and just newly started them and don't file taxes, you should likely do a non-filer filing. In the first stimulus round, the IRS had a statement that they issued that said, if you've already been on benefits, 2019, the year before, and we know where you are, even if you're a veteran and we're not on benefits but just started to get veterans benefits or something like that, they said, don't worry, we know where you are. It is these people who are newly coming into systems, like people who just started benefits, or people that they simply just don't know about, that need to do a non-filer filing. Okay, a whole other group. If you're a parent and you have a child and the IRS doesn't know about that child simply because they don't appear on your tax return, you need to do an on-file filing for them as well. Please understand, if you don't do this, quickly and urgently, then your check could be delayed upwards of 6 to 10 months. We're now seeing in the last 2 weeks that stimulus checks that were sent out from March or April, April, May, are being sent out now to dependents who IRS couldn't find, and now they found them. So don't be in that ball. Next. Where is this heading? Well, it's incredibly great news. You know, what Meadows said this morning is that he and Mnuchin really looked at numbers. And when they're built upon facts, when they're built upon the cost of each program, then you know what's going on, is what Meadows said. We had discussions with Democrats, and we continue to have discussions with Republicans. Senators, we're making progress. We're looking at the numbers, and we're getting things that are growing on for the state and local. Now, what I want you to do is make sure you tune into the video after this, because I'm going to prepare you and educate you for what's going to happen in the next 7 days. I got to tell you, it's going to be one of those weeks where there's so much stuff that's heading you in different directions that I'm afraid you're going to get confused. So I want to prepare you to understand the filtering of information next week. That way, when I report it to you, you'll understand it better. He said the state and local needs about $300 billion. They have a $279 billion loss because unable to make budget because of COVID-19. So they're willing to give them about $300 billion. They're not giving them $900 billion. The $2.2 trillion price tag of the Temple of Doom. Her contentions, don't come to me unless you come up with more money. Her contention that she doesn't like this is much of nothing at this point. A few people, very few, just, two, tweeted me today, said, she didn't like what, my response is, I don't care what she doesn't like anymore. She has inherently become irrelevant. If you didn't watch last night's special about heroes and heels, I'm going to detail that in a little bit more tonight, is that those bills are now irrelevant because no one is going to be working with them. They are not going to be the focus of anything going forward. Now, you certainly have parts of it, like hazard pay is written in Heroes, we want hazard pay. But as a whole, concise document, no, absolutely not. When asked to explain what is really 2.2 trillion or 2.3 trillion, she couldn't do it. Mnuchin says there's more work to be done. Let's not get caught on the letters. Let's go forward on the bipartisan aspects. So those are the parts that we can agree upon and get those done. And then other things that we need more work, we'll do negotiations on that. Okay, so this is the 2 stages. Stage 1 is next week. Stimulus checks, FPUC, rent, mortgage, airlines, testing and schools, about $500 billion. The round after that is the $650 billion approximately. That will be other stuff like bailout of states, PPP money, hazard pay, potentially. And that's where we go. As Maxine Waters says, get back to negotiations on the table. Let's stimulate this economy. This is your job. Call up Pelosi and tell her that I told you to call her. Okay. A big analyst said today from Bridgewater Associates, COO Greg Jensen, that $1.3 trillion is needed to stimulate this economy, and that $1.7 trillion is needed to sustain the economy to recover from induced coronavirus devastation. Ironically, those are the numbers that I've been detailing for a while. I've always said that stimulus really needs to fall between 1.5 and 2. It depends on where we are in this economic downturn. But so no one thinks that 1 trillion does it. No one thinks that 2.4 trillion is needed. That's too much. But 1317 seems to be the number. As it depends on what it's used for, the policy gets directly spent on the economy is more effective than the dollar, and the dollar is preventing things from happening. It depends on what it's used for. The more money for the state is going to prevent negatives. The stimulus checks will be direct positives. So that's incredible, great news. It's in a day in which LWA and FPUC just delivered great news across the board. If you didn't catch it, states are now paying 5 weeks of LWA. 5 weeks. I mean, yesterday I was excited 4 weeks. Now it's 5 weeks. This is going to be 6 weeks tomorrow. I just don't know. I might have to get my hair cut. It's 5 weeks. And now we have Montana, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Vermont and Kansas all adding $100 on top of that. So those states, you'll get $400 a week for 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, that could be $2,000. Congratulations if you're in those states. This is supplemental assistance offered by the President's executive order. They'll help those who are in urgent need, but it's not a long-term solution. We hope that Congress works with the White House to get it done. Amen, says Governor Scott of Vermont. Thank you, Governor Scott. Really great news. If you're in other states and your states have applied for LWA, but you've not seen the money, stay patient. Absolutely stay patient. It's coming. It's coming. Don't think it's not coming. I know the wait time is certainly a big issue. It's certainly, waiting to get your hair done. But, with that, a lot of great, exciting news. Thank you for tuning in for today's broadcast. They were really, there was a lot to deliver. So I was rushing them out with an incredible amount of news, and I'm sure there's more stuff out there. So please tune into that special coming up where I go over what to expect in the next 7 days, because it will be a little bit overwhelming to someone to understand where we're going. Do me 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel. Boy, we're trying to reach 250,000 subscribers. We're at 230. We're going to try to add 25,000 more well, now it's actually 20,000 subscribers. 20,000 subscribers in the next 14 days, 2 weeks. I think we can do it. So let's try to do it. Go to the front channel, subscribe, and the alert button so you get an alert when a new video goes live. And then like this video. Like this video every time you like my haircut. No, I did not get my hair cut. Every time I crash the hair salon. And because that way it really helps the algorithm, so that people who have never seen this channel see this video higher in the rankings, ahead of horrible channels that are just telling you you're getting a $900 stimulus check tomorrow. No, that's unemployment benefits. That's not a stimulus check. Or people that are telling you that a stimulus deal was reached today. No, there was no stimulus deal reached today. But you have certainly come through. I think the morning's LLA program had 15,000 likes. So let's try for 20,000 on this one. Let's try to see how we do it. Join me for the next special coming up right after this. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay smiling, and stay in LA for more.